Hey everyone, great to see everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. In the middle of Women's History Month, so for today's DEI talk, I thought I might talk about biases as relates to women specifically. So again, the EEOC itself has seen an uptick in the last 10 to 15 years of more gender biasy claims than they had the previous years because again we're doing a better job as a society as a whole in recognizing negative gender biases, but also we're doing a better job of educating people on what to look for, how to react, and how to report. So what I thought I'd do for this week and next week is talk about the five types. There are really five types of gender biases. I'm going to cover two today, and I'll save the other three for next week. But want to just kind of go over briefly, what are the types of gender biases that we're seeing in the workplace? So, well, the first one that we want to talk about is basically what we call negative gender biases, kind of a negative bias. A negative bias is a person holds negative stereotypes about women when he or she thinks a woman at work, simply because she's a woman, is or should be pleasant and likable, but not particularly forceful, competent, suited for high pressure competitive leadership tasks. Basically, a person who operates with these types of biases, they judge women they work with to be less talented, less suited for challenging assignments, less worthwhile to advise, supervise, or sponsor, things that are similar to men. This type of person is not necessarily intentionally hostile to women and may not even know he or she is acting in discriminatory ways towards women. Undoubtedly, though, we all know there are still men with influence over women's careers who are blatantly biased against women, kind of the proverbial male chauvinist pigs. But by and large, gender stereotypes and their resulting biases are unconscious attitudes, tendencies, and expectations. So I was reading a survey recently, and most people, when they were asked if they hold negative views of women's talents and capacities in the workplace, obviously most people have said, of course not. But I was reading these studies that this one university did on psychological and sociological studies that says that to one degree or another, a lot of managers have gender biases. A recent study actually revealed that 75% of people think that men, when they think of the word men when they hear career-related words such as business, profession, work. But they think women when they hear domestic-related words such as family, household, caregiving. Again, and even an overwhelming majority of I think it's closer to 90% in the same study said that people associate men with leader-related roles such as boss, CEO, director, when they associate women with aide-related roles such as assistant, attendant, secretary. So obviously, because of these types of negative stereotypes, women are often held to a higher standard than are men. Basically, to get ahead, you need to be better than men. You have to work harder than men. You have to succeed more obviously than the man. And it's a strong double standard. And then this double standard has been shown to occur across different industries and occupations. But so this is one of those things that why in our DEI classes we're spending a lot of time specifically on negative biases because they're all based on stereotypes. Now we all know that not all stereotypes are negative, but the things we just discussed are obviously all negative and are used to perceive the fact that men should only be in certain roles and women should only be in certain roles. And when there's a lot of word association, but ultimately it's the idea that men are superior to women. And obviously, I think we can all agree, when anybody who has that thinking obviously is misguided for a lot of reasons. But what we also want to make sure we realize is that what can we do, even because as I mentioned earlier, there's not a male chauvinist pigs, in the workplace are not, obviously as common, but a lot of men who hold these views may even hold them unconsciously or not even realizing they're having these views when they're talking about women. So I think it's important for us to, as part of our DEI classes and in our continued discussion this month is to make sure we look at all these types of stereotypes so that we can make ourselves aware and avoid them whenever they come up. So that's kind of the first one is what we call negative biases. The other one that I want to talk about today is what we call benevolent sexism. It's basically gender bias that's hidden by kindness is really what it is. And men often treat women they work with what we call apparent kindness or consideration. Men express concern for men often treat the women they work with what we call apparent kindness and consideration. Men will express concern for women's welfare. They're solicitous about their difficulties in managing work and family responsibilities. And they take steps to be sure they do not have to stay in the office late, travel out of town, or work from home. And too often, these apparently nice attitudes mask what we call benevolent sexism, which is a view that our women as weak and they need support and protection from men. The person say, well, you go home early because you have a family to deal with, or you know what, you don't have to take that trip with us to the East Coast because you have kids who have soccer games. The person who's saying that may intend it as a compliment, but it actually creates a different type of stereotype. It's that view that women are more mild-mannered and gentle and not competitive, and they need to be shielded from the rough and tumble demands of frontline business or professional responsibility, things along those lines. But I think we can all agree, if we eliminate challenging, difficult, or strong assignments from women, then we're hurting women long term in the workplace because they're not able to advance like men are, because they're not getting the same challenges, the same opportunities, the same way to show how well they can perform in these roles. And again, most of these types of benevolent issues they're intended to be nice, but they create these negative stereotypes ultimately, and they create harm. So, and second, there a lot of times praise is given, but has nothing to do with actual job performance. For example, women have historically been told things in the workplace like, "You are so nice. Thanks for being so helpful. You always look nice. You always dress so nice. It's so refreshing to see a woman in this job." And again, all the people that are saying this, and it's usually men, but it can be women too. They're intended to be nice. They're intended to be compliments, but they don't come off as compliments. They come off as, none of these have anything to do with my job performance, or what I'm trying to accomplish in my role. So again, it's masking. It's a way it's kind of not, think of it as nice Christmas wrapping. It's wrapped up all nice, but inside it's not having the concern we want it to have. So again, benevolent sexism. It is more often than not intended not to be personal and not intended to try to harm, but again, it has that result of causing more issues than it tries to resolve. So negative biases and benevolent sexism, the two things we wanted to talk about this week. Again, the idea to make you aware, make sure you understand, these things do occur in our workplace, and to help you try to figure out ways, if you do encounter these, what can you do to either say or try to make sure that we don't encounter these in the future. So, and as we go further along, we'll be sure to talk about different strategies and different ways that we can resolve these. So these are the two for this week. Again, I'll have 3 more gender stereotypes for us next week, but I didn't want to pack all of it into a long video today. So just wanted to start with these. We'll talk more next week. I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk soon.